You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now.
What we're titling this? Do we have a title? Hello, welcome to Tifo IRL. I'm JJ Bull, and in this video we're going to talk about Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. We've just seen Barcelona pretty much destroy Atletico 4-2 in the game in La Liga, and what I thought would be interesting was to look at some data with a special guest coming up, and also to look at how Xavi has Barcelona playing and whether that's working and whether they're really good or not. So let's start with how Barcelona play. It is a 4-3-3, the Barcelona way, and what Xavi is currently doing is playing Dani Alves as like this kind of inverted fullback coming inside here because Adama Traore, who just signed from Wolves, stays close to the touchline as a winger. They played Gavi as a kind of inside forward on the left, so he was coming inside here with Jordi Alba overlapping. So Jordi Alba would get right up here in attack, Gavi being amongst these sort of spaces here. Ferran Torres, signed from Man City of course, is up here as the central forward. And Adama Traore, wide right. He got a standing ovation in this game because he was brilliant, taking on players and going past them. And this is one of the things that Xavi has done, is identified one of Barcelona's weaknesses, and it is that they don't have enough pace. So they were lacking width and pace. So in signing Traore, who is this season in the Premier League, for example, no one's made more dribbles than him, and in fact, no one in the Premier League has attempted or made more dribbles than Adama Traore since his first season in the Premier League with Wolves. He's very good at dribbling the ball. So that's what he does. He's come in, was excellent in this game, set up one of the goals with a cross that went to the back post. I think that's the one that Jordi Alba put in and off his shin. It was a really good finish, but it was off his shin. If you have Traore wide right, it means Dani Alves, right back, who was sent off in this game, can come inside and be a midfielder, which is one thing he's really good at doing now. And that allows Pedri to go forward into these sorts of spaces. Frankie de Jong can do his box-to-box stuff, pick up the ball from deep, but go further up the pitch. Busquets always does what Busquets does and sits as the 6 in the hole. Then you've got Araujo and Piqué as the defenders there. So the things we've seen in Xavi's Barcelona, they play a very high line, they're pressing really intensely, they're much more than I think we've seen Barcelona over the last few seasons, and it looks very much like as we'd expect, more like a kind of Pep Guardiola Barcelona team. Another thing that we saw in this game was they would get loads of players in the same sort of vertical space, say around here like this, I'll put them together, so they can effectively play a little rondo. So these short-sided games that you'll play in training, Barcelona are doing them in a game, and of course you put loads of players on one side of the pitch, it naturally draws your opponent over to try and make sure you're defending the pitch. Atletico like to defend, and that would naturally leave someone wide right, and then there you go, you can just have a switch ball over to Adama Traore. So by buying these players, Traore, Torres and Aubameyang, who came off the bench and was okay, they've got a lot more pace, they should be a lot better. But Atletico, I thought in this game, because they won the league last season, do you think they're quite good? But I thought they were pretty rubbish. They didn't seem to have that same spike or fight that they normally have in them. They were defending very passively at this halfway, letting Barcelona come right into them. But I think a better way to look at Atletico and whether they're actually bad or not is by looking at some data. This is our new team member, Maram AlBaharna. She is going to talk us through some data, aren't you?
Yes.
That's good. Do you want to say hi to everyone at home?
Hi.
As I was saying, Atletico I didn't look very good in this game, and they're not doing very well in the league, so that's not good for them. But the underlying data, expected goals, that you have in this graph that you have prepared, suggests that they're actually all right.
Okay, so let's talk about it in more detail. So expected goals for and against. So basically we're just talking about the quality of chances that they're conceding and the quality of chances that they're scoring. And I've done it over the last 5 seasons. If we look at their title-winning season and that huge gap over here, you can definitely see that they peaked in terms of the goals, in terms of the chances that they were creating and the chances that they were conceding.
The chances they create are the blue ones, right?
Yes.
So this is good being high here. And the red ones are goals against, expected goals against.
Yes.
Right. So this gap is good?
This gap is very good,
Wow.
but as you can see, it sort of regresses back to the mean. Now, the reason for that is, when they brought in Suarez last season, it kind of allowed them to switch to that 3-5-2 formation. And from there, up until February, he scored about 16 goals from 10.7 XG, thank you. And what the important point to highlight here is that 10.7 XG and 16 goals is a very big difference.
That's a huge overperformance, right?
Yes, a huge overperformance. And yes, it's not sustainable, but that also highlighted how important he was as an outlet for Barcelona. Right. He was getting all of the shots. He was getting all of the
So he would even be partly, or if not mainly, responsible for this big difference between...
Yes.
That's
yes.
good.
Yes, that was really good. Even Marcus Llorente, he scored 8 goals from 1.6 xG. Two of them were deflected shots, but nonetheless.
But 8 goals from 1.6, so he
Yes.
should only have scored about 1,
Yes.
maybe 2 at the most goals, 8. That's
Yes.
good.
But then
Okay.
something happened here. To say
Something
the
we can
least.
never speak of, we don't know. So, yeah.
Something happened here. They started to regress to the mean. Suarez got injured. But what's important is what they did up until February was enough to carry them into that title
Right,
win.
so they were to win the
Yes.
league because mostly they were so good and overperforming at the start of the season.
Yes.
They were able to come into that. So then we look at this season. This is the weird part for me, is that so they're not doing very well in the league, right? And even after that game that we just watched, they were talking about how we know we need to fight harder and work harder. But they're actually, the numbers suggest they're doing all right.
The numbers suggest they're doing all right, but that decline started from the second half of last season.
Right, okay.
It's nothing new. So that's why it's kind of bringing up this misconception that they're not as good as they used to be or they're performing worse defensively. If you look at it over the past 5 seasons, they've actually been quite steady in terms of the quality of chances they've been conceding.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, let's imagine it as a combination of all of the players getting to the correct form at the correct time. Even in terms of Jan Oblak and the goals that he was conceding was a huge overperformance in terms of the expected goals on target.
We wrote it down. He
Yes.
conceded 12 goals from expected conceded goals of 16.4. So he's saved 4 goals. Is that what that means?
But 4 goals is a lot.
Yeah.
4 goals changes the whether you win or lose a game.
I've never stopped 4 goals.
But that's what's really important here is that it's not whether there's a change in structure, it's the change of execution that's been going wrong for Atletico.
Oh, okay. That brings us on to... So here is another thing that you have made.
Yes.
And this shows us... Can you tell us what this means, please?
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
So basically we're looking at how each team in the La Liga prefer to play in possession. So I have it against the direct speed, so how quick they are they more direct?
Mm-hmm.
And the passes per sequence. Do they prefer more or less possession?
Right.
So we kind of see the top 3 teams of the Liga clustered in this less direct but high possession sequence.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that's like shorter kind of passing football down here.
Yes.
So Sevilla, who are second at the moment as we film this, so they, yeah, right, okay, I understand. Real Madrid are sort of, what are they then compared to Sevilla?
So compared to Sevilla, they're a bit more high possession.
Mm-hmm.
They like to circulate the ball and create those angles before they shoot, basically. But when you're talking about a team like Atletico, and the difference is quite staggering.
Okay.
It's because Atletico, as we know, is a team that likes to defend first. They're not a team that is very high possession. And they prefer, in terms of their attacking, like end-to-end counter-attacks. So they actually have way less possession to deal with, and it's football. If you have less of the ball, you're going to create less of it. That's just natural. So Atletico as a team generally have less chances created than, for example, their opponents, Barcelona and Real Madrid. When you compare a striker of a very low possession team to a striker of a high possession team, obviously that the quality of the chances that they're going to get is different, but also the volume of the chances that they're going to get is different.
Right.
So let's look at Correa, for example. If you look at his shot map, yes, it's quite centered in the box, and that's really good. But we're in February right now, and the volume of shots that he's been creating, and he's Atletico's top scorer. The volume of shots is very little, but you can actually notice the difference in terms of how he's overperforming. He scored 8 non-penalty goals from an expected goals of 4.1. So overperformance matters much more when you're a team with low possession than it does with a team of high possession that creates more.
I like it. How about Luis Suarez? This is him from last season, so you can see what the difference he made last season to them.
Yes, shots everywhere, basically. So with Suarez, you had 101 shots, so that's a very high volume.
Yes, that's many.
Yeah, and he scored 18 non-penalty goals, 15.6.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're going to tell me, Maram, that's not a lot of overperformance.
That is what I think, yeah.
Yeah, but again, that came from the beginning of the season. He was also injured, and overperformance like that is very hard to maintain. It's unsustainable. But what's important here is that he was Atletico's outlet in possession. So, and the pockets and the chances that he was getting, if you give Suarez half a chance, he's going to score it. So you can actually see how positioned, how he was all over the box, basically.
Yeah.
And that allowed Atletico to find him in good positions. It also allowed him to finish more of those chances.
So Atletico, we've kind of established, right, that they're sort of underperforming this season, but they're actually, like, underlying numbers show they're okay.
Yeah.
Last season they overperformed very much at the start of the season and then regressed to the mean, but that was enough for them to win the league.
Yes.
Now they're not being as well. Real Madrid are top of the league and are just much better than last season.
Yes.
This seems to be a huge, that's good, isn't it?
They're reaching peaks that they haven't done in the last season, and that's quite good. And a lot of that has to do with their strikers up top. You're talking about Vinicius and Benzema. With a team like Real Madrid, you don't have one player that's overpowering the entirety of shots. You had Suarez shooting 101 of the shots, and while Benzema was doing very good, the share of the shots is actually being shared quite well between him and Vinicius, and that's giving them a bit more uniqueness in terms of the final third and how they're actually creating their chances.
Okay, this is Benzema here. This is from this season, isn't it?
Yes, 73 shots.
And he's good. He's performing above his XG as well. So Real Madrid are sort of overperforming, but good players can break XG. That's the thing.
Yes.
So XG is not perfect. It's not perfect, but we're going to rely on it.
They can't break XG for a very long time.
Yeah.
But look at where he's being positioned, where his goals are coming from. It's in the central area of the box. That's one of the most high value areas to be in the box, really.
Yes.
So it's not that he's shooting from outside of the box and getting on these crazy deflections. He's actually positioning himself well in the box in terms of the chances that he's getting on the end of. So, very cool.
Well, I'm going to then bring this all the way back round smoothly in a sort of weird segue to this is what Barcelona are like then. So we started with Barcelona, we know how they're going to change. Xavi's come in this season, this is this season, and this will probably change. So now he's brought in these players that we're talking about, Adama Traore, Ferran Torres and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He'll be able to construct chances the way he wants to in time, so this will look different because it doesn't look like what Xavi's team should look like.
The fun thing about people didn't know about Koeman, or at least I think they didn't know because I didn't.
This is Ronald Koeman.
Yes, Ronald Koeman. Is that Barcelona's underlying numbers under his managerial stance was actually quite good. It was again execution. Now, when you have Xavi take over that, you can kind of sort of have a very good foundation to build on. In terms of their quality of chances that they were conceding, he kind of steadied the ship, I would say. So the only way is up, kind of, for Barcelona if they happen to manage their players correctly.
The only way is up, and with Adama Traore getting standing ovations, it's a strange world we live in. There we go. So that's the La Liga summed up. We've summed it up, right?
Kind of.
That's it.
Sure.
We've nailed it.
Only the top three matter.
See you next time.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do enjoy Tifo, then you'll probably also like The Athletic. If you watch our tactics videos, you should go and read Michael Cox. If you're into data, read Mark Carey. And if you're into transfers, it's David Ornstein. Plus, if you're a fan of any Premier League team, then there's a journalist dedicated to you, and you can try it for free for 30 days now by clicking the link in the description.